Despite Mitsuo having claimed to be the real killer, Naoto is not satisfied with the outcome and enrolls into Yasogami High to keep a watch on affairs, seeing she's catching on to the investigation team.
Well then, it's your turn now. Straight answer, please. What is your true involvement with the murder case?
You know, you're so good at killing the mood that it's almost funny.
Well, we go rescuing people who've been kidnapped by jumping into the TV. And then we do stuff like Persona! With our personas and beat the crap out of shadows.
You idiot!
Are you making fun of me?
Dojima, your uncle and local police detective, even tells you to be nice to her, seeing she's been raising a bunch of issues at the police station. Naoto, however, continues to corner the investigation team and presents her deduction that everyone who's gone missing has appeared on TV before they went missing.
First, as regards commonalities between the victims, all of them were kidnapped before they were murdered. The victims were all locals who had been the focus of recent media attention, becoming suddenly well-known. That is the most likely scenario. I don't believe there's anything intrinsically unique about the victims themselves. Haven't you all come to the same conclusion? Then allow me to state my point. Will you admit that a number of you fit these identical circumstances? There was a long interval between the second and third deaths in this case. But after I applied the aforementioned criteria, I discovered several similar disappearances had taken place. Yukiko Amagi, Kanji Tatsumi, Rise Kujikawa. All of you disappeared shortly after being shown on TV. Either you escaped death somehow, or you faked your own disappearances in order to divert attention from yourselves. Since some of you had ties to the victims, there came a point where I suspected one of you must be the culprit.
You thought one of us was the killer? Oh, you can't be serious!
This was a prior theory, since discarded. Putting together everything I've learned until this moment, I believe exactly the opposite. You aren't the culprits. You may, in fact, be the only ones with the means to pursue the true perpetrator. Seen as a joining of forces between the rescued, everything falls into place. Of course, this is all speculation.
A few days later, Naoto gives this same statement in a broadcasted interview, and sure enough, a few days later she appears on the Midnight Channel. Here she appears in a too large lab coat, claiming that she will be undergoing the experiment of the century.
Good evening, everyone. I am the Detective Prince, Naoto Shiragane. Welcome to Experiment of the Century, the Genome Project. I will be experimenter and experimentee both in a forbidden yet wonderful bodily alteration process. You shall witness my departure into a new realm, the moment of a new birth. From the chosen day forth, I shall walk a completely different path in life. And I will share this glorious occasion, this memorable day with all of you. Do stay tuned.
The investigation team quickly starts investigating to find any and all information on Naoto that can help them find her dungeon. It is first when they find out that the police considers Naoto an annoying child that the group suspects that Naoto, as a last-ditch effort to prove she was right, used herself as bait.
You mean he got kidnapped on purpose? That's crazy! He could be killed!
He said, "This is not a game for me either. It's all my fault. I'm the one that said that to him."
Idiot! Why the hell didn't he just tell us?
He knew we'd stop him if he did. Instead, he left us clues so we could figure it out and...
I know! That son of a...
But what about the killer the police are holding now? Mitsuo did kill King Moron, right?
Wait, didn't Naoto-kun mention this? something about Mr. Morooka's case being different from the other two because the cause of death was certain.
Then is King Moron the only one Mitsuo killed? That'd explain why there were no signs of King Moron being thrown into the TV. The killer didn't change his methods for King Moron. It just seemed that way because it was done by someone else.
Then whoever kidnapped Naoto-kun, that's the real killer?
Armed with this information, you find her dungeon in the shape of a secret agent's laboratory. This lab reflects Naoto's childish mind. Naoto always tries to prove how mature and cool-headed she is, which is the persona she tries to show to the world. But inside, she is well aware that she is too young to be like the ace detective she has seen on TV and in mangas. Once you finally encounter Naoto in the operating room, you see Naoto talking with her shadow. The shadow explains how Naoto feels overlooked and maybe even ridiculed by trying to fit into a workplace that is so male-oriented, and because it's such a serious job that they can't afford to trust the deductions of a child.
Why? Why are you leaving me here? Why am I always left alone? It's so lonely. I don't want to be alone.
Naoto-kun.
You wear the same face as me. It's as if you're implying we're one and the same. But the difference between me and you is... Why delude yourself? I am you! These childish gestures are no mere affectation. They're the truth. The fools all say it, don't they? You're only a child. Keep out of our business, kid, and so forth. No matter how many cases you spend hours cogitating over, no matter how many crimes you solve, you're a child in their eyes.
However, when she really loses it, is when the shadow explains that Naoto is actually a girl, and that the operation that the shadow was gonna do was turning Naoto into a guy.
Now then, our analysis is complete. Let us begin the body alteration procedure! You have no objections, do you, Naoto Shirogane? Stop it! Naoto. Such a cool, manly name. But a name doesn't change the truth. It doesn't let you cross the barrier between the sexes. How could you become an ideal man when you were never male to begin with?
Wait, what? Did I hear that right?
He's not a guy?
I won't throw a tantrum. That accomplishes nothing.
Now, this is a heavy subject, so I will try my best to talk around it to avoid stepping on any toes. Naoto's idols and role models are the detective from fiction. The detective that'll just come in and solve everything. This is also where the idea of a kid ace detective comes from. It is my belief that Naoto doesn't want to be a man as much as he wants to become a detective, as she herself states that she has nothing against femininity. And I believe that because it's a shadow that wants to transform her, which we know is only part of the truth. The shadow wants her to become a man, but what she really wants is just to be accepted amongst her peers as a detective. And part of her believes that to do that, she needs to become a man. This duality is shown in her shadow's design as well. Her shadow before it's transformed is wearing a lab coat that is too big for her, showing she is trying to imitate an adult. When it's transformed, however, Naoto is fully revealed to be the kid that she is, as the shadow takes the appearance of a childish toy robot. Naoto's shadow is really interesting. It shows the duality of Naoto being a kid at heart but trying to appear as an adult. Everything about the shadow screams a children's toy. Even the big dumb laser guns and the rocket boosters under her feet that can be found on stuff like Astro Boy as well. You can see by the tie that the clothing is actually draped on top of the robotic body, meaning that it's a robot underneath with a costume on top. The robot reflects Naoto's calculated and emotionless approach to things. There's a reason why her left side is the robotic one, because then you can see her heart is replaced with a processor. She thinks with facts and numbers rather than emotion. There's also a clean line down the middle. Even in the chaotic mind of Naoto, there's order, because remember, that part of her personality is one she's perfectly okay with. After defeating Naoto's shadow, Naoto lays all her cards on the table, explaining to the team that she indeed wished to become a cool detective like those she had seen on TV, but was never taken seriously for both her age and gender. However, Naoto realizes that what she wants is to be accepted. Instead of putting on a visage or role to become accepted, she wishes to be herself and get accepted through that. And through this realization, the shadow turns into Naoto's persona, Sukuna Hikona, and it's time to talk about the designs.
What was that you said about you're only a child?
Not everyone welcomes my collaboration when it comes to solving cases. My status as a child was sufficient to offend many of those whom I worked with. Were that the only issue, then it would have resolved itself with time. But though I will one day change from a child to an adult, I will never change from a woman to a man.
Do you not like being a girl? Is that why you always dress like a boy?
My sex doesn't fit my ideal image of a detective. Besides, the police department is a male-oriented society. If they had the slightest concrete reason to look down on me, no one would need me anymore.
You don't know that.
Hey, you must know already that what you yearn for isn't to become an adult or become a boy.
You're absolutely right. I'm sorry. I kept ignoring you, pretending you didn't exist. But you are me. And I am you. You've always been inside me. What I should yearn for, no. What I must strive for isn't to become a man. It's to accept myself for who I really am.
Naoto is the shortest member of the investigation team, by quite a lot actually. It is further shown by her being the same age as Kanji, who's the tallest, to really juxtapose her height, which helps giving the idea that she is indeed a kid. You wouldn't have gotten the same understanding of her plight if she was as tall as the rest of the people around her. Naoto's primary color is blue. It's both found in her hair as well as her hat and glasses. In color psychology, blue is seen as a non-threatening color, a color you can trust, a calm color. This is why you see the color on things such as PayPal, Windows, or Facebook. It's interestingly enough also a color used to show tradition and being conservative, which is the exact thing Naoto fights against. It's also the typical male color, and when it's the color used on Naoto's detective hat, it's clear it's referring to that of the male detectives. In terms of dressing, Naoto is often found dressing prim and proper. There's little to no accessories, which fits her pragmatic personality. The only accessories you'll find her wearing are her tie, hat, and this string here. All there to help giving the idea of a detective and being professional. In case you haven't noticed it, she's also wearing a boy's uniform. Her persona is Sukuna Hikona, which is a Japanese dwarf deity of healing and sake brewing. The dwarf part can potentially be attributed to Naoto's height. Sukuna at first had some issues with Okuni Nushi, another kami, but became fast friends with him later. This is a reference to how Naoto at first seems almost like the antagonist for the investigation team, but you end up befriending her. Design-wise, there's a clear resemblance between Sukuna and Naoto, especially with the collar and jacket. There's also a striking Kamen Rider feel to it, which references Naoto's passion stemming from TV and other fiction. All of Sukuna's limbs are also covered in what looks like bandages, or rather a thing called sarashi, which is used to tie one's breasts down to hide them, reflecting how badly Naoto wants to hide that she's a girl, considering that the sarashi is covering the entire body of Sukuna. Sukuna also has wings similar to that of a butterfly, showing that behind the masculine cocoon is a beautiful girl ready to come out. However, most prominently on Sukuna's design is the sword that's almost twice as big as Sukuna is. I'll be doing more show and tell videos in the future, so just to make this easier for the future as well, swords in almost all types of fiction is almost always symbolism of manliness. And here, it's no different. The big size of the sword and the fact that it's a big glowy energy sword is to make sure that that's what people pay attention to, as if saying, look at me, I'm a man. Now that the last party member has joined the team, it's time to talk about something that's prevalent in both this game and Persona 5 as well. Whenever a character faces themselves, it gives birth to their persona. They are typically drained and have to rest for a while. This is both for video game purposes, but it's also rooted very much in reality. As I'm sure everyone who's gone to a psychologist can agree, once you're done with such a session, you're just completely drained. Soul searching and facing your own demons are incredibly mentally taxing, and the game incorporates this as part of its gameplay. That after having done the hardest soul searching these characters can possibly do, they'll be out of commission for a while.
First, I heard the doorbell ring, but when I opened the front door, I saw no one there. Just as alarm bells sounded in my mind, someone grabbed me roughly from behind and covered my mouth with something. Immediately afterward, I was put into something like a sack and most likely carried on the culprit's shoulder.
Wow, how could you remember all that?
The culprit seems to have used a chemical to incapacitate me, but luckily I wasn't completely unconscious. I had been expecting a trick along those lines, so I was somewhat prepared. And of course, I was desperate to gather as much information as I could.
No wonder you're an ace detective!
That ain't something to be proud of. You are too damn calm about all this.
Judging by their actions and body type, I'd say the culprit is definitely a man. I heard no conversations or voices, so I believe he is acting alone. It's after that things get murky. I felt a single impact, which I assume is when I was thrown inside the TV. But the time from kidnapping to that point seemed too short. It was a matter of minutes.
So you were immediately thrown inside the TV after being kidnapped. Oh, could there have been a TV on the side of the road?
Regrettably, my memory from there on is a blur.
I see. But man, the killer came right up to the door and rang the bell? That's just crazy.
Once Naoto is back on her feet, she proves just how good a detective she is by giving the team valuable information that she found out during her kidnapping. Come October, Yu receives a note warning him not to rescue any more people.
Is it from a friend? Oh, my show is almost done!
At the same time, an ominous fog starts to cover Inaba that meteorologists cannot explain. And there are even rumors that the fog causes ill effects. And worst of all, Nanako, Yu's cousin and quote-unquote little sister, starts showing signs of a fever.
Achoo! My head hurts. Hey, big bro, are you going back home in spring? It's going to be winter soon. If it snows, can we make a snowman? We can play a lot. Let's play all the time until spring.
This is where things gets really serious as Yu receives another letter threatening him that someone close to him will die if he tries to rescue them.
Hey, what the hell is this?
Not often we get letters with no return address on them. So, I was right. Be straight with me. You're involved in the case, aren't you? What are you up to? So you're not gonna be honest with me. I've been treating you like family. That's why I never questioned you on this. But I see that was a mistake. I should have intervened much earlier because I care for you. I will have the truth from you today.
Dad?
We'll continue this somewhere else. But I'm not letting you leave until I'm convinced. This is for your own good, got that? It's all right. We're not fighting. We'll be right back, so don't wait up for us to get to bed, okay?
Dojuan spots this letter, confirming his suspicion that you and his friends have something to do with the whole thing, and thus brings you down to the station. And upon not believing Yu's explanation about the TV world, personas and shadows, he leaves him in the interrogation room. Here the Midnight Channel comes on a TV in the corner, revealing to Yu's horror that Nanako is on screen.
Sadness, endless, despair, feel no more, no mess, front cam, no sound, feel no pain, capture, helpless, outmade, dreadful fate, harass, life rest, no breath, falling down, sadness, endless, despair, feel no more, no mess, front cam, no sound, feel no pain, capture, helpless, outmade, dreadful fate, harass, life rest, no breath, falling down.
Down to the basement, replacement goes as placement. Big bucks payment, I'm dirty like a slave man. Began to lose patience to these complacent successes who assesses rules that assassinate us. Like me, lot of confidence but fall from vanity. Reason why I got a crew behind me, my family. Even if they try to bribe me, never ride. Believe in beauty or destiny, it's fire. Talk of the blood, the flesh of the flesh, but talk of the soul, the less of the heart, the lessons are taught. Yo, backside of TV, this sounds like DV. Bottomless dark, so don't mean not for the weak kids. Underestimate the way your brainwash illuminated.